You said they messed up hip hop. They destroyed it.
Yeah, we need to throw the whole culture away at this point, brother. It's prostitute rap. It's kill your own people music. I'm not afraid to be vulnerable and show people that, man, I struggle. So when people make threats on my life, you know what I mean? When people tell me you can't come back to this city, or when people say, oh yeah, you better stay strapped, man, my joy is my weapon. That's the only weapon I need, brother.
Right.
Because I know who I serve.
Class is in session once again. It's an honor, privilege, and a pleasure to be joined by a true scholar, you know, on many levels, a true educator, but also an artist and a voice for the people. Activism wouldn't even describe this brother and what he's doing. The shift change that is happening in the culture. He's one of the leaders that are on the forefront of it. Commend him. It's long overdue. MC, educator, literally teaching at Tufts University, a true professor, the one and only D1.
Thank you so much, my brother.
I
appreciate this, man.
Come on, man. I appreciate you. This is long overdue. I mean, I've been a fan from afar from your movement. Like I said, usually this is an educational platform, so we were like, man, we dying to get them in here, and it's usually about books, but the fact that you got your own children's book is super powerful. I think I want to start there, and then I want to jump into some other stuff, but I just wanted to commend you on, you know, and then ask you, I mean, why a children's book?
Of course. I feel like my music is something that's able to reach people from age 8 to 88. You know what I mean? I've seen my music reach people all across the board. But when it comes to hip hop, we can teach people with more than just music. So that's why I became a college professor. I have a course called The Intersection of Hip Hop and Social Change, right? So that allows me to specifically target the college demographic. With the children's book, that's a way to incorporate hip hop. The whole book rhymes. It's literally a hip hop book, but it's an anti-bullying book.
Okay.
Because when I was a kindergartner in New Orleans, you know what I mean? That was me. I was David. So I was getting bullied in kindergarten, afraid to go to school because terrorized by like, man, my bully, he going to pick on me today. What he going to do to me today? So the metaphor of David found his slingshot is just like David in the Bible. How
David and Goliath.
Exactly. David defeated Goliath. The key is he knew what his gift was. That slingshot, right?
Yeah.
When they try to offer him, here, take this sword, take this shield, he was like, nah, that's your gift.
Yeah.
That ain't my gift. I know what my gift is.
I'm nice with this slingshot.
So when you find your slingshot in life and you use it for the purpose God designed it for, you truly are able to defeat the Goliaths in your world. That Goliath might be a bully. That Goliath might be racism, depression, anxiety, generational poverty. You heard me?
Yeah.
So the key is finding your slingshot, and I put it in book form.
Man, this is awesome, man. I commend you on this. It's super well done. If people want to get the book, where's the best spot to get it?
They go directly to my website, d1music.com, D-E-E, the number 1, music.com.
And that's where I gotta jump right into that, man. I gotta discuss your business acumen and your approach because you know, we could talk about so many things, and we will, but we're going to get spiritual, we're going to get philosophical. But your business acumen is something that I think many may overlook because they're so invested in you as an artist. But the fact that you've been an individual that had a major label deal before, but you choose to go directly to the people and you're providing for yourself while still being an educator, you know what I mean?
Right.
But now, you know, your website is where you can get your book, your music, and all of that stuff. What made you make that decision, and how lucrative has that been for you?
Well, putting my music out directly to the consumers has been so lucrative. I've made easily over 6 figures.
Wow.
By putting my albums out directly to the people, allowing them to name their own price.
Right.
Because what happens is when I give people the option to name their own price, it's like, you know what? I love D's heart and his art. I'm about to drop a G with him, you heard me? I'm about to drop $1,000. This happens multiple times.
Offerings.
Literally, bro. Literally, you feel
me?
People dropping $500, dropping $100. And there's people who drop $10, you know what I mean? But whatever it is, I'm like, name your own price. If you really want the music, just come get it from me first. Eventually, I'm going to put it on the streaming platforms, but I'm going to take an L financially when I do that.
Right.
Because we get paid 1/3 of a penny. You know what I mean?
It's
For
crazy.
every stream we get. Yeah.
1/3 of a penny is ridiculous.
It's wild. And I
Because
like
there's
to
so
say it
many
out-
other people making so much more off those streams.
Bro, and I like to say it out loud because it stings me every time I say it. I'm
Yeah.
like, ugh, they getting us. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
every time they play your song, you're not even getting a penny for it.
Come on, man.
Nah, but and I feel like there's a big shift that's coming from the artist community. One, the information and the knowledge is becoming more accessible, but then the connection with the fan is becoming more accessible. And I think you're at the forefront of that. I mean, one, because you're a conduit. You get knowledge and then you offer it up. You know what I mean? And a lot of people get the information and they hog the game. You know what I mean? They're stingy with it. But you not only you hear it in your music, you hear it when you speak. When we see you online, and then as an artist, I think you're also on the forefront of ways to get to the people because, we come from a school where the record deal was the sign of success, or almost even the end point of, I got a deal, I'm on now, I'm gonna let them handle it. Where I don't think that's the case anymore. And brothers like yourself are actually showing that you're actually more successful by operating, and you have more freedom. Even forget the success, you have the ability to speak your mind and move the way that you want to move, and still be, an artist. And
Right.
I mean, I commend you on that. But also, was that by design?
This was just a purpose-driven endeavor from day one, man, because I'm from New Orleans, and when I graduated college, I went to LSU, right, in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. When I first graduated, many people don't know, but I was a middle school teacher. So while I'm teaching middle school, I was just focused on making impact, man, because I was a victim of an armed robbery my senior year in college. You heard me? 3 dudes came, approached me and my homie. One dude pulled a gun out, got it right here on my temple, bro. I never forget that. And as I'm sitting there in that moment, I'm thinking, dang, man, there was so many times I knew I could have shined my light so much brighter in life to make a difference, but I was afraid of what people were going to think about me or say like, oh, this dude, goody two shoes, or who he think he is, Martin Luther King or Malcolm X?
Right.
And in that moment, I was thinking, now I'm not going to have no more opportunities. Like, dang, bro. And I had so much regret in my heart in that moment. By the grace of God, I made it through that. You heard me? He ain't end up pulling the trigger.
Right.
And after that, it created like a sense of urgency to where it's like, I got to make real impact in this world. The income is going to take care of itself.
Yeah.
That prompted me to become a middle school teacher. While I was teaching middle school, I'm in the classroom. I'm making a difference every day. I'm teaching in the hood. I'm seeing like our young brothers and sisters, all of the resources they don't have access to, the broken families. The school itself ain't really supporting their needs, the curriculum. So I'm like, dang, I'm making a difference, but I feel confined by these 4 walls of the public school system. So me wanting to be an artist from day one, it wasn't so that I could be famous, you heard me? Like, I don't know your whole backstory, but I could imagine you always been well liked. We just got an energy about us. When you first walked in here, it's children of the light. You know what I mean? That we got an energy about us. I've always had that. So it wasn't like, you know how some people got the story Mike Jones. Back then they didn't want me. Now I'm hot. They
all on me.
I can't relate to that. You know what I mean? Like I always been.
I was always cool.
You feel me?
They always wanted to hang out with me.
So it wasn't about like, man, I got to get popular so that I could stroke my ego as an artist or whatever. It was no, as an artist, I see that as a tool to be able to reach even more students and make more impact in this world.
Right.
Because when Miss Afeni Shakur, Tupac's mom, saw me perform at an open mic during college, and she came up to me at the end and was like, brother, your passion on that stage remind me of my son when he would perform. You know what I mean? That's all I needed to hear.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, say less.
Yeah.
So that's what it was, bro. I just looked at being an artist as a way to make even more impact. And especially because the state of hip-hop at this point, bro, like, man, these dudes done ruined hip-hop, bro.
Yeah.
It's ruined, bro.
Let's dig in, man. Let's talk about that because you made these type of statements before, and then there's a lot of people who agree with you, and there's a lot of people who don't agree with you, and we've seen quite a few viral and controversial moments with you standing on business, with you standing for what you believe, and the fact that your skill level is at such a height, but it's with a message and it's with a purpose. So then even some of the other brothers out there who have, phenomenal skill levels, but as you put it, they're promoting poison.
There you go.
So
delicious poison.
Yeah, and it's for what we know. And I often talk about frequencies. You're on the highest frequency, but everyone else necessarily isn't there. And if the masses is on the lower frequency and that low vibrational music and messaging, it's so easy to offer up, and knowing that people are gonna devour that because it is so delicious. It's easy. It's where they at. It's a harder concept to grasp, getting to that level of consciousness and being on a frequency that many can't obtain because of their traumas and a lot of the.
You think it's totally unattainable for them?
It's difficult.
Okay.
It's only reason why, and because I ask this myself all the time, because I'm a fence straddler. You know what I mean? Because I think to my core, I'm high frequency all the time.
I can tell.
But I also, whether it's what we doing on Wild 'N Out, or whether, I might have a couple of songs that, I made specifically for the strip club, or it's so easy. And especially when the masses are doing it, it's like, all right, well, I'm gonna give them a few of these. And if they talk to me, they know I'm about this. Or if the message in my music is this, and even, my own testimony as an artist, I struggled in the music industry specifically because of that. Being a PK, being I never took music seriously because my pops was a preacher, and most of the time he wanted me, because he didn't want me to follow in the footsteps of all the gangster rap that I enjoyed. He was like, man, every kid in our projects wants to be a rapper, but you got something different. You got a gift. He's like, you funny. You know what I mean? So it's like, how about we turn you into a comedian, and then you can still rap if you like it, but let's do something nobody else is doing. And that was me at 11 and 12. And through that process, when I actually finally did get an opportunity to be an artist, I struggled with that. At first, when I first came out, I wasn't cussing. You know what I mean? I was the clean cut, Nickelodeon kid. And I was doing it because I was following the footsteps of Will Smith, and that was my mentor, and that's who I was. But then I started to resent that I made that decision, and I started wanting to actually be like the music that I listened to. Okay. And then I got to a space, after kind of figuring that out, I was like, I want my message to have a purpose. And that's where, when I'm a fan of your music and I watch how you move, because, I made some really solid records, specifically the song Can I Live that I did with Kanye and Anthony Hamilton was something that was life-changing for many people, saved so many lives, but me telling my testimony. And I was like, if I were to take music seriously, this is what I would want it to be. But at that point, I had already been spread so thin and other things were taking off for me. I was like, music is just a hobby. And if it worked, it worked. I was on the Eddie Murphy run. You know what I mean? Like I'm on this comedy, these movies, and I'll put out a song every now and then just to show that I could do it. But I never took my artistry serious because I know the dedication that it takes, and I know the type of music that I would actually want to put forth. Like I would want to be someone like yourself, to where like there's a message there. But then and then even more so, not to get this about you, not me, but it's more like I always found it easier to make music instead of being in front of my music and present my music and be an artist, because you have to be that all the time. You got to stand firm and market it. Yeah. And even like you got to be who you are. And that's what I think that's what you're talking about a lot of times, is like, even, like one of my biggest songs is called Gigolo. Yeah. With R. Kelly. Right. And like we pimping, and I'm like, part of me, I'm loving it, but I'm like, ooh, I know this ain't really the message that I want to put out there.
And imagine when they start loving you for somebody who I'm not really this at my core.
I'm not a gigolo.
I just did this, you know what I mean? Because I'm talented enough to do it. I never wanted that, because you could become a prisoner to your own persona. You hear me? Because now people loving you for somebody that you never really were at your core, and since they loving you, they like, you better not desert us. We need 5 more of them type of songs. We need a whole album full of that. And we gonna pay to come see you on tour for being that. And a lot of people like, dang, I'm getting the bag, but my soul feel like it's dying. While I'm becoming more and more famous and more paid. I never wanted that, dog. I made $39,000 a year as a middle school teacher before taxes, and figured out how to still be like, I'm straight. I'm happy. You heard me? Like, I'm good. So at that point, once everything else started rolling in and that started multiplying exponentially, it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Even without this, I know I could be straight just being a middle school teacher somewhere. You heard me?
Man, that's powerful. So you said they messed up hip hop. They destroyed it.
Yeah, we need to throw the whole culture away at this point, brother.
I hear you, but in just playing devil's advocate for the moment, I definitely understand that there's been more detriment to our people since hip hop started, but there's a lot of things that go along with it because of it being an art form, being just a reflection of the community. I wouldn't put all the onus on hip hop because hip hop is a tool. Hip hop was the great magnifier and the news source that our culture had for everybody to be introduced. It created a neighborhood amongst our culture, and right now, what the news is magnifying is the death of the black man. And so I only because I agree, like it's once we got into the blinged out getting money era, we lost a lot of the consciousness that was prevalent in hip hop. You know, I was a child of the African medallions, and you know, everybody from Tribe to De La to then even we had the 5 percenters that even the fly dudes like Big Daddy Kane and Rakim was still spitting knowledge and wisdom, but then when it came all about getting money, we lost the intellect. At least I ain't say intellect because Jay-Z is still highly intellectual, but he wasn't attempting to teach us in a way as building up the black man. He was teaching us how to get money. So I don't necessarily feel like it was being destroyed. It was just capitalism entered in such a big way, but that's the world we live in.
That's the world.
So how much of a responsibility is it on us and in the culture when really we just all striving to be like Donald Trump? We all just striving to
a big problem
to get as much money as we can.
Right.
And there's no more compassion. There's no more love in any, not just hip hop music.
Yeah,
you know what I
just
mean?
in the world.
And just in any entertainment,
in any industry.
Yeah. It's about the bottom line and money.
Right.
So that that's the only thing I would add to that, to where it's like I understand what we're saying, where hip hop has been destroyed, but I think it's bigger than hip hop when we talk about the demonic energy that that's enforced with greed and the lack of love.
Yes, it's definitely bigger than hip hop. So I don't want people to think that I'm simply pointing fingers at hip hop because, like you said, hip hop is a byproduct of the environmental circumstances that these artists and these fans are faced with on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So because of that, when we look at hip hop, the thing is there's no standards for what's considered hip hop and what's considered not hip hop.
Right.
So we need standards if we want to preserve this culture. You can't tell me what hip hop culture is right now.
I mean, other than
and what's not hip hop culture?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
no,
like what's the
defining,
differentiation? What's
yeah.
the fine line?
Yeah, I mean,
I'll wait.
but I think isn't that part of the success of the fact that we have now grown to such way that hip hop is mainstream and everything is hip hop?
No, I think we got to be MVPs. You got to have morals, values, and principles when it comes to hip hop.
Morals, values, and principles.
Straight up. Without morals, values, and principles, hip hop will turn into whatever the corporate entities want it to turn into. Because they can manipulate your taste buds based on what they put the marketing dollars behind.
Right.
They can manipulate what artists will rap about because they'll say, well, we're going to incentivize artists to rap about the death and destruction of their own community, disrespecting their women, selling dope, you heard me, sipping lean, and we're going to incentivize artists for rapping about that. So 9 out of 10 artists are going to go wherever the bag is. So we got to make sure that peace is profitable.
So let's talk about that.
And positivity is profitable. That's what my generation, that's what it's our job to do, bro. And people like you and I, we successful, bro, and we didn't sell our souls to become successful.
Right.
I think we both got our own internal conscience that's like, dang, I feel like on a daily basis, I struggle with my my sinful nature, or I struggle with my own vices and all that type of stuff. But at the core, we have a light about us that other people recognize from the outside. We make the decision if we want to dim that light to fit into our environment. But bro, what if we made the template for young, black, white, everybody, brothers and sisters coming up? Listen. This is how I can prove to you that positivity is profitable and it's still cool, because we are two living examples of it. We don't have enough of that.
Yeah, let's go back to the frequency conversation, and even talk even more spiritual warfare, because I think it might be where we are in today, because if we go back to the music of yesteryear, even probably before our generation, maybe the generation or two before us, peace was profitable. Love was profitable. Positivity was profitable. If you listen to the stuff that was on the radio, like we had groups like Earth, Wind, and Fire. We had,
I love that.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
I wasn't even here for
that's
it.
What
but
I'm saying. Like that's what we had songs like "Ain't No Stopping Us Now." You know what I mean. Like there was real. We had Marvin Gaye. You know what I mean. Like when you would hear the messages in the music. It was so much positivity. Like you turn on music and it just made you feel good. But right now we're in a frequency, and again we went from being we went from being street dudes having fun to drug dealers to then a generation of drug users. And you can hear it all in the music. So when we was get money drug dealers, we was still having fun. We was popping bottles because we was getting money. And then now that generation is a generation of pill poppers. Depression, and that's what we hear in the music. The vibration is slower, it's lower. It's you know what I mean. Like there's no more dancing in the nightclubs. It's people we are endorsing and embracing things like prescription drugs and lean and that is what's become mainstream. So how do individuals who want to show peace is profitable, want to show positivity is profitable, if the frequency is down here and a few are up here, and we're the examples, we're leading, we shining, but it's not the wavelength that everybody else is flowing on. How do you combat that, or how do you shift that to actually evoke change in the masses?
Well, the first thing you have to do is understand that you were called to be set apart, because we got too many people with a calling on their life who end up saying, man, this calling ain't allowing me to just easily fit in with my peers. Right. You're not supposed to easily fit in with your peers. You know what I'm saying? So the children of the light, the children who are called to be set apart, have to, number one, know how powerful and precious that is, right? The second thing we got to do is we just got to call a spade in our culture. We got OGs and we got DGs. You heard me? A DG is a disappointing grown-up. You heard me? Straight up, dog. And we got a lot of DGs in this culture.
Facts.
You heard me? A lot of people we call legends. Man, these people not legends. Nick, what? Are you a legend at what? A legend at selling dope to your own community? A legend at teaching people how to become drug addicts? A legend at disrespecting women? So we want to call people legends, and they hide behind this legendary status. All these people in hip-hop who we consider them OGs just because they got old.
Yeah.
Man, if you 50 years old and you still thinking the same way you did when you was 20, you wasted 30 years of your life.
Wow. That's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
Especially for our community, because I think we have this idea we want to be forever young. We want to still rock and be the young boys. We don't necessarily want that growth. We want to be like, I still got it. I'm still flowing. I'm still in these streets. And that actually makes people feel like there's a immortality to the fact that, oh no, they can't take me out. I'm still out here getting it. If we grow older and we retire, or we mature, then we no longer cool. We no longer got it like that. So
that's it.
So
people fear that. People
fear growth.
It's ego. It's ego though. It's ego that wants to keep you young or keep you like, bro, if I go back to my high school right now and with the same expectations as when I was at the high school of like, man, everybody gonna run up to me like, David, what's up, bro? Imagine that if it's like, oh man, I gotta do something extra now,
Right.
so that when I go back to my high school, I can still get that feeling like I'm the man.
Right.
That's just my ego talking. And this whole culture incentivizes putting our ego above everything else.
Right.
Literally putting self-gratification, self-glorification above everything else. That's why you got a bunch of people out here with wrist problems and finger problems and neck problems, because we just like this all day with these phones. You know what I'm saying? Our whole life.
Yeah.
Bro, as I'm opening this phone, I got a text from Charlemagne.
Oh, okay.
He telling me about how dope this record. I just put a record out. Kendrick Lamar just shouted me out
saw that.
in his new song.
Yeah.
So I just put the response out. You know, in New Orleans, we used to wear what's called Soldiers.
Oh,
right? That's
yeah,
Reeboks.
yeah.
So that's my cover art. And so that Charlemagne hit me with this. You heard me?
Nah, that's fly.
And me looking at this and me looking at all these responses I'm getting right now, I'm like, man, I could easily see myself spending the whole night just reading comments and just stroking my own ego.
Right.
But I'm trying to work against that, man.
We all are.
Yeah, no, we not all. We not all trying to work against
Well, the ones that are aware that that is controlling us and that we need to remove ourselves from ego so we can walk in spirit, we know that that's the struggle.
So when you ask how we do it, all right, at the same time, you can know that you were called to be set apart, but knowing that you were called to be set apart doesn't mean that you don't coexist and interact with your brothers and sisters who aren't on the same frequency as you. So that's where D1 gets this criticism from people who don't think like we think, and equivalent to people saying, Nick, brother, you a genius. Like, you a mogul. Like, when you do Wildin' Out, we feel like that's not the epitome of your intellect or something.
Yeah.
The people who will criticize you about that, that's the same people telling me, D1, why would you collaborate with this street artist or that street artist or this artist who don't make the same type of music as you? What you mean?
Yeah.
What's the alternative? To act holier than thou? And we'll never reach people like that.
Facts.
But the key is, you know what I'm saying? The key is, give me your hand right quick.
Yeah.
The key is, when we come into community with somebody, right, and we have a relationship with them, at that point, we got to be firmly planted in who we are.
Right.
Because if we not, then start to pull me.
Yeah, you're going to come all the way.
Next thing you know, I'm coming over to you as opposed to I'm planted. And the goal of this interaction was to pull you more over to me.
Got you.
You feel me?
Yeah. Nah, it's interesting that you bring that up because I've been in situations where, specifically even Wildin' Out, I've had people. Like, I remember I was speaking at a church with all of these different Christian artists. And, you know, the kids was going crazy because, you know, they love Wildin' Out, you know. And I could feel the energy from
Jealousy.
a couple. I won't say it's jealous. You know what I mean? Like, I say it was the spirit of, it was... Maybe it is the spirit of jealousy, but it was more like because they weren't jealous of the attention that I was getting. They spoke to me specifically about if I could take that same energy and honor the Lord with that, or I have such a connection with these young people. My messaging should be different, and that set with me. That you know, afterwards we kind of built, and it was this one, you know, Christian rapper who spoke and really, you know, we was cool, and then he was like, man, I'm just disappointed in some of the things that, you know, I see come forth, you know, through your brand with Wildin' Out, and I know there's so much more to you. And interestingly enough, you know, I felt like he judged me a little bit on that, and I just kind of I didn't even, you know, I was, you know, God bless you, kind of kept it moving, you know. I feel like this is my space, it's my calling, it's my ministry. I'm gonna continue to operate in it. And then that individual, you know, to each his own, end up having some issues of their own, you know, in the public eye. And whether if you believe in, you know, karma or however it is, you know, though who, you know, he who judges cast the first stone type of scenario. I didn't really publicize it too much in that sense, but I just knew that sometimes it's our own brother in the fight of, you know, when we're literally trying to help one another. And that'll be the person to condemn you, saying, man, you should be doing this, or you're doing this the wrong way. You get a lot of that. I've seen, and I mean, and I've seen you even have discourse with different people when we're talking about, you know, trying to live righteous in what we do. And you're very, you know, firm and direct, and even oftentimes loud in your message about, you know, living a righteous life and what, you know, not destroying our people with the messages that we put forth. Is there some type of unity, or is there something that we can offer up where, to your point, what you said earlier, we can deliver and maneuver in the way that we are as individuals, but we're not condemning one another?
For sure. I never condemn the youth. That's one thing.
It's only these DGs.
It's the DGs. It's these disappointing grown-ups, because they're exercising something called willful ignorance. They literally know better, you know? They literally know better. They're not this young, impressionable mind. What's the science on it where they say your brain isn't fully even formed until you're like
age 25
years old? Yeah. This isn't one of those youngins, you heard me? That's still coming up and young and impressionable. This is someone who is metaphorically, purposely saying 6 times 4 is 39. And they're saying it to a bunch of people who don't know how to multiply.
Right.
So these people are receiving it as fact.
Right.
Bet 6 times 4 is 39. Meanwhile, the whole time that person knows, I am just manipulating y'all to get the end result that I want. You know what I mean? And I'm miseducating y'all. Y'all are going to go out, and no matter what happens to you as a byproduct of me miseducating you, I got what I wanted in that moment.
Wow.
6 times 4 is 39. When I see other grown men and women, specifically in the culture that I've given so much of my adult life to, hip-hop, who are being willfully ignorant, they know better. They don't even let their own kids listen to the type of music that they constantly make and promote, right?
Right.
These executives. When I was signed to RCA and I'm seeing this stuff, like, man, I'm not going to let that slide on my watch, because that's an issue that could be prevented.
Right.
But it's willful ignorance. And when no one calls it out, because everybody is like, man, we get in the bag. Like, this is my thing, brother. At what point is it like, okay, I got the bag? Technically, I could always get more, but by having just the security of knowing, like, dang, like, I'm not struggling to know where my bills are going to get paid from next month. You know what I mean? When you're past that point in life and you've literally built generational wealth, or you've just built stability for yourself, at what point does it go from paper to purpose? And I don't see many people making that jump. The thing is, it's hard because en route to getting the paper, you became addicted to the process.
Right.
So now the paper and the process to get it makes it to where even once you get it, the devil always gonna say, "Oh, you got that, but you ain't got this."
Yeah, new levels, new devils.
Oh, you wanted to be, man. Growing up in New Orleans, man, we trying to be a 6-figure nigga. You know what I mean? That's what Cash Money was talking about, man. We trying to be worth 6 figures. I was like, bet, bro, if I ever have $100,000 to my name, bro, like that, I'm just gonna feel like I made it. You heard me? Bam. Once you get to that point, instantly you be like, oh, this ain't nothing. I gotta get 7. You heard me?
Yeah, facts.
You get to that point, it's like, I mean, it's cool and all, but you know, I know I ain't got what he got, or I know I ain't got them cars that's out in the parking lot right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if you allow your ego, and if you allow the lower level of who you are to lead you, you feel me?
Yeah.
When you are purpose-driven, that means that before you even set foot in whatever that room is, you know what your purpose is for why you wanted to be in there and why God has granted you the opportunity to be in that room. If we just had more people who were purpose-driven, brother, this whole world would be different. Entertainment would be different. Business would be different. Everything, interpersonal relationships will be different.
Facts.
But people aren't purpose-driven. They're paper-driven all too often. And people play on our poverty-strickenness. You know what I mean? They play on our poverty-strickenness to act like, how many times you been to Africa?
Half a dozen.
Yeah, I've been twice, right?
Yeah.
Both times that I went, it just struck me how much joy radiated from the Ghanaians and from the brothers and sisters in Zimbabwe where I just left, right?
Yeah.
Despite the lack of physical resources that they possess, right?
Yeah.
So that level of internal joy that radiates through them that you can like see and feel became something where that was my proof. I thought I grew up in the hood in New Orleans until I went to Ghana.
Yeah.
You hear me?
Yeah.
And then I was like, so what I look like complaining about what my circumstances are when they have it way harder over here from a financial standpoint. And that perspective just allowed me to say, okay, man, like, there's no excuse for not being able to still have a purpose-driven life without saying that, oh, I got to be rich in order to do that, because being rich is going to give me peace of mind. And once I got peace of mind, then I can focus on, God, like pleasing you at that point. Yeah. But if I'm hurting financially, God, I can't even focus on you right now, brother. I just got to do what I got to do to provide. And then hip hop, and I can't even think what hip hop, definitely for a young black man or woman, hip hop is like, oh, bet you young, you black, and you poor. Man, we finna give you the soundtrack to how to change your circumstances. And that soundtrack involve a bunch of murder, you heard me? A bunch of sliding on your ops, a bunch of go rob him, a bunch of scamming. Glorified in the music, dog. Glorified. A bunch of stripping on the pole, you heard me? Prostitute your body. You know what I'm saying? You see the lottos, the sexy reds. You see all these young women who then made it to where a young girl who's watching them is like 4 or 5 years old, reciting the lyrics to these songs that is just totally, bro, I can't even finish my sentence, bro, because it's just like, it's prostitute rap. You know what I'm saying? It's kill your own people music. And my thing is this, I can't even fault the youngins that's making the music or consuming the music, because they all, hip-hop just turned 51. Yeah. Dog, they all got OGs at this point who supposed to be saying, I know it's appealing. I get it. I know you're still young. You're going to make your little decisions. But as an OG, I'm going to make sure I stay close enough to you to just let you know there's an alternative to that. You know what I'm saying? And there's consequences to that.
So I want to go, because you touched on so many things, but I want to stay right there, but I want to just broaden it up a little bit, because you even talk, I love the math analogy you made. And I think if we apply that to just information in general and media in general, specifically social media, there's so many messages out there. And there's so many people claiming that, 6 times 4 is 39, and they're profiting off of it. And they're profiting off of our ignorance on so many levels that what you're speaking of, like OGs or no OGs, nobody is going to stop the capitalism that, again, is sheep. You know what I mean? It's the masses. You don't want them to be intelligent. We go all the way back to John D. Rockefeller and his plan for education. He just wanted to build a society of workers. You know what I mean? Yep. So when we get to that space of contentment and, it stifles who we can be, because at the end of the day, ignorance is cool and ignorance is easy to control. So my question to you, as a teacher, and even just stepping out of hip hop for a minute, how did you deal with, or how do you compete with the ideology that ignorance is cool? Because it's everywhere. Some people, other than ignorance is cool, ignorance is bliss, or it's cool to not know, is what Chris Rock used to say. It's like, you're almost looked at cooler for not wanting an education, not wanting to be educated. So in that sense, like, hip hop, it's dumbed down. It's cool. Don't nobody want to hear that conscious stuff. Don't nobody want to hear all that lyricism and stuff like that. We just want to rock out and party. We don't want to watch documentaries. We just want to, laugh and talk that talk, or, like whatever it is. So to me, again, as a provider of content, I struggle myself to be like, all right, well, I can give somebody the whole breakdown in a spoken word about something super deep, and it won't get as many views if I'm just, cracking a joke or something like that.
You can't be attached to the outcome. When God puts you in this world and on this earth to make sure that you are a truth teller and you are a carrier of love and light and knowledge, you can't be attached to the outcome. That's your ego. That's your ego. Oh, man, I can't do what I know I was called to do because of how many likes it's going to get. A whole man, a real one. You heard me? A whole man of God talking about, man, it ain't going to get the likes, though.
Well, the idea of what I was saying, because obviously I say I do it for the love, not for the likes, but in the sense of the reach is what I was speaking of. The reach of, like, people just don't want to hear stuff about intellect. People don't want to hear conversations like this. They rather hear something that's, easy to digest.
You hear me? So my motto is be real, be righteous, be relevant. You hear me?
Yeah.
All three of them things.
Yeah.
Be real, first of all. Never sway from who you are. You heard me? Be authentic. So be real. Be righteous. Know that doing the right thing is always right. Doing the wrong thing is always wrong. I know society get us tricked. You know what I mean?
Right.
Nah, be real, be righteous, and then be relevant. The key to being relevant is, man, you got to shut up and grind. You heard me? Yeah, the devil don't take a day off, so we can't either.
Right.
We got to get creative.
Right.
So that's why when you a glitch in the matrix and you like, man, I got a good heart,
Right.
and I'm a beast on the microphone,
Yeah.
and I'm a creative genius, I'm funny.
Right.
Boy, them people lucky that I can't sing and that I ain't funny. You heard me? Because it'll be over with. Because my heart in the right place.
Right.
But all I can do is rap and teach.
Right.
I'm a communicator. And
I mean, that's a whole lot right there. And when you think about the ones that have, paved the way before us, the ones who did it at such a high level, we speak of like the Tupacs.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And he was a wonderful conundrum. You know what I mean? As they say, just a dichotomy of all things black walking around. You know what I mean? He'll give you a Brenda's Got a Baby, but then he'll also give you, so many hoes. He'll give you shed so many tears, but then he'll give you keep your head up, but then at the same time he's gonna give you America's Most Wanted, or he's gonna give you How Do You Want It? And we love him for that, because I felt like he was always his authentic self, and the passion was there on each side. But you don't do that. You stick to the message. You stand
correct.
Why?
Because every feeling that I feel ain't real. You heard me? Every feeling that I feel ain't meant for me to go and pursue it. Like, just because my body or my hormones is saying that it wants something in that moment, that don't mean that it's meant for me to pursue it. I always gotta weigh that up against the standard. And so for me, that standard is that word of God. You heard me? For me. That standard is that Bible. It's like, all right, let's see. And even outside of that, it's just having a moral compass. You feel me?
Yeah.
So
Facts.
common sense is not controversial.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to bro. You ask, how do we reach the people who only want to vibrate on a lower frequency?
Yeah.
Communication leads to unification.
Okay.
When you get a person in an environment like this, me with my students, whether it's my college students or whoever, all my college students, they talk about all the music they bumping and they loving. And I'm like, oh, bring it in class and let's press play on the music that y'all loving. And let's break down the lyrics. And let's break down.
That got to be a fun class.
Oh, man, you already know, brother. What you mean? We talk about the 3 C's in my class.
Okay.
Because the music industry is made up of creators,
Right.
consumers, and commissioners.
Okay.
Yeah. And we talk about who has the most power out of those 3 C's. Guess who it is?
The commissioners.
No. It's the consumers.
Oh, I got you.
Bro, there's way more fans
Yeah.
in this world than there are artists and label people. You
Right,
feel me?
right.
So if the fans turned into what's called consumer activists, saying we're not just going to blindly receive whatever it is y'all feed us and say, oh, word, I can't even see what this is, but thank you, since you put it in my hand, I'm just going to drink this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Drink this poison and be blind. No, when consumers actually exercise their power and say, wow, it's going to be tough to resist what is being pushed upon me, and we can see the propaganda of what the culture is pushing on us or what the commissioners are pushing on us, but we want to say, man, you know what? My common sense tell me that this ain't the way to go, but D1 is offering an alternative. They're still just as charismatic. The beats is still banging. You heard me? Like, Nick Cannon is offering an alternative. Right. You know what? Those consumers at that point, like, all we got to do is provide the alternative.
Only thing I would say to that, and I would love to hear your thoughts on, obviously, the systemic processing of our art. Because I think that's what I was kind of touching on before, where it's like, there's definitely been a shift since capitalism has been inserted into hip-hop. That if I'm a commissioner, and I don't know whether you believe this or not, because I've heard different takes and different stories about people. There's a secret meeting in hip hop where they, we were getting too conscious. We were unifying too much. So and I've asked Ice Cube about it. I've asked some of the label heads that I know. And again, I go back to I think it was more of a symbolic conversation, because I don't necessarily believe that there was a meeting that emphasized that they wanted to build more prisons, and they wanted, so therefore they needed to create more criminals, so they're going to influence them through music. Now, there's some people who believe that actually did happen. But one thing we can't deny is all of that did occur because of the music.
Yes.
You know, that's undeniable. But do we believe that the commissioners, as you speak of, are really in the sense of delivering that, or controlling the consumers in a way to say, we're going to put more money behind the prostitution rap. We're going to put more money behind the drug-infused music, and just because those sheep are easily controlled.
There's no industry without creators and consumers. There is an industry without commissioners.
Right.
If we just wanted to go direct to the people and say the artists and the fans, we're going to have the direct connection to one another.
But there's a system that's still in play that, one, generates money. Like, they never going to let hold of these big, whether it's the Spotifys, the Apples, the radio, the iHearts, and, you know, the AGs and the Live Nations.
These people protest Starbucks, you heard me? They protest
whatever. They're not gonna protest something that they love.
They love their Starbucks. They love their little lattes. They love matcha lattes. You heard me? Straight up. So with that being said, people got to get to that point to where they're like, man, we actually accept that there's a difference between narration and glorification. And it's too much glorification of the negativity in our culture. The narration needs to be there, because the narration of what's going on in the hood, that's what's going to help educate people as to how we can change what's going on. You feel me? Yeah. So that's the difference, bro, is people have to have that ability to stand firm and say, although this is appealing, what is it appealing to? It's appealing to my lower self. You feel me? My low vibrational self. That's why the beats, that's why the frequencies, you talk about frequency. The frequencies in the beats, 808.
Low frequency, the lowest of the low.
Low frequency, brother. And we can't hear a rap song without the 808 nowadays.
Yeah, facts.
Straight up.
So I don't even want to talk on that a little bit, because you're from New Orleans.
Believe that. My city mad at me right now.
Yeah, but they hot, and I want to touch on that, but I more than, you know, because obviously even depending when this airs or when somebody actually gets a chance to view this, more than specifically what's going on, we got to speak to the richness of New Orleans and what they've done for just music in general, the vibration of the soul, the being able to, whether it's jazz to whether what we now see, the importance New Orleans has played in hip hop. And there's a certain vibration that it's New Orleans has always had this. Some call it magic, some call it, you know, spirit, some
voodoo.
But there's always this sultriness that can then shift into sexuality, that can then shift into, like you said, ego of, you know, that's where we get back that ass up. This is where we get so much of the culture, from what we witnessed from Cash Money to No Limit. You would define that, and have defined that a lot of time, as poison, and that it's been a detriment, even though, you know, a few have made it out because of hip hop, because of music. You're saying the overall that it's not. It's detrimental to our community. And like you said, there's a lot of people mad at you, specifically when, you know, talking about, you know, as we all see, the GOAT, as Lil Wayne, isn't being honored in the way that, you know, a lot of people believe he should be, specifically in his city, you know, and highlighted. But people look at Wayne a lot of times as the best to ever do it, or that had influenced the culture in the same way that the Tupacs and Jays have. And you're saying that's not necessarily the best,
right, for
our kids.
Yeah, bro. There's nothing controversial about that statement, bro. That's like, come on, man, bro.
From the hip hop standpoint,
you can acknowledge that somebody is dope at their craft,
right?
And you can separate that from the message that their craft glorifies and pushes. But people can't do that, because people get so attached to the person, the message, the amount of time that they have spent. People are slaves to nostalgia. You know what I mean? If there was somebody who, oh man, I gotta say both of these. If there was somebody who 30 years ago, they were a KKK leader, right? And if it was a 30-year anniversary, right?
Yeah.
And if they were like, man, we can't let the 30-year anniversary go by without, celebrating this. And come on, man, it's a milestone 30 years ago, right? We would be like, our community would be so outraged. Like, man, that's crazy, man. How you going to celebrate something that was negative in the first place, right?
Right.
But we don't look at it like that when it comes to entertainment. Regardless of what that entertainment represents, when we see that people want to be honored and put into these different halls of fame and 25, 30-year celebration, to celebrate what? What message was put out there in that music? We don't need to be celebrating that.
Right.
But people can't divorce themselves from it because people got childhood memories attached to that. But
Good memories, though.
Good memories. But how's that any different from a 12-year-old back then who's 42 now who was like, I had a good time at the KKK rally. You heard me? When I was 12, like, we had a good old time. We had barbecue chicken and then we had pork and beans and all that stuff. And they're like, I got good memories attached to those rallies that my people used to have me attend when I was a kid. So who are y'all to tell me we can't celebrate this 30 years later?
I mean, you make a strong point there. And I have to ask this because obviously as we wrap up, I want to dig into the man. I want to get to know David more than just D1. You voice your opinion of the culture quite a bit, and I've seen and I admire it. You know what I mean? Because even when I jumped out there in the water sometime and want to stand firm on something, your armor got to be tight. You know what I mean? Because they're going to come shooting at you all kind of ways, especially when you're challenging the mindsets that, that people love. You're challenging individuals and traditions that we may have been raised on. Do you as a man ever get concerned for yourself, and even not even just about, on the surface level? I'm saying like even knowing how busy the devil is in that sense of we all got our own demons. We all got our own situations. And you're so verbose with standing on your message. I mean, I would think the likes of, Dr. King or even Malcolm X or those type of individuals, they said they had this level of stress of trying to operate in perfection. One, because they had the FBI was trying to expose them every which way and lie on them and all that. But knowing that you're such an activist and you're such a loud voice in the community, are you ever concerned of a downfall or a fall just in general that man, I gotta walk this tightrope each and every day because I'm representing righteousness.
Representing righteousness is different from representing perfection. I've never acted like I'm perfect.
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid to be vulnerable and show people that, man, I struggle. So when people make threats on my life, you know what I mean? When people tell me you can't come back to this city, or when people say, oh, yeah, you better stay strapped. Man, my joy is my weapon. That's the only weapon I need, brother.
Right.
Because I know who I serve. And
Right.
also, life wasn't meant to be lived forever.
Right.
Like, no matter what you try to do to micromanage how long you got down here, man, you can't control if you're going to be breathing in 5 seconds.
Right.
Neither one of us can.
Yeah.
So with that being said, yeah, I share my tears behind the scenes sometimes because I have flesh and I have feelings, and sometimes it hurts to feel like your own people or your own community ain't rocking with you. But that's what reading all these books is for, and you find out they wasn't rocking with Martin Luther King.
Facts.
They wasn't rocking with Malcolm all the way. You know what I'm saying? Like,
facts.
okay, they wasn't rocking with Jesus Christ. You hear me?
Yeah.
So with that being said, all of a sudden them tears get wiped real quick and that crown get adjusted.
Yeah.
And it's like back to work.
That's a heavy crown to wear though. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times you're in the crusade by yourself because you're going against the grain and you're trying to raise everyone to a higher frequency.
Say, Nick, I got to tell you this, brother. Listen, just as much as I receive condemnation, I receive a lot of elevation and a lot of validation.
Yeah.
And so oftentimes we'll focus on the negativity, you heard me? When I was a middle school teacher, I had 30 students in my class. No matter how good my lesson was, 2 of the students always going to act bad, you heard me? They're always going to act up. But if you put all your attention on those 2 students, you neglecting the other 28 that's locked in with you and that's loving you. Man, bro, I'm on Nick Cannon podcast, you heard me? I'm from New Orleans East. I'm from that goose, you heard me? And I'm on Nick Cannon podcast. Cannon's class, being celebrated for being who I am.
Right.
Bro, if I was sitting here worried about the condemnation I'm currently receiving and couldn't sit here and appreciate this, man, I'm a loser for that. I'm a chump, you heard me?
Yeah.
So we just got to remember at all times, man, we always receiving validation and elevation even amidst the condemnation. And that helps me, bro.
That's powerful, man. Amazing answer. So I got to ask you this as we begin to wrap up. You've lived quite the life, you know what I mean? And you get a chance to share your story often. But people may or may not know what has made you the man that you are today. What would you say are the key components that made you who you are?
Key components that made me who I am. I would say, dang, bro. Because I just am who I am. And then sometimes you don't unpack, like, what.
But would you say is it your upbringing? Is it your parents? Was there a mentor?
Man, you know what's crazy? I'm sitting here struggling for an answer, and I look down on my chest, you heard me? And I got my grandma on my chest. Bro, what I received in that crib from my family was so much affirmation, right? And that affirmation made me feel comfortable in my own skin to where I never seen another person that was like, oh, I want to be that person more than I want to be myself, right? I might like aspects of a person, but I want to incorporate that into who I naturally am, right?
Right.
So it was affirmation from my family that definitely helped, right? From there, it was information from reading the Word of God and truly understanding not just who I am. I understood who I am, but now I understand whose I am. Yeah. You dig. You dig.
Yeah.
And once I had the affirmation and the information, man, bro, that
became an inspiration.
My dog, we got to do a song together. Right? Let's go, man.
Let's get it.
Straight up, bro.
Nah, man, that's powerful. And I ask everybody who sits in that chair these last 2 things. First, what's the greatest lesson you ever learned in life?
Greatest lesson I ever learned in life is that we were put here to use our time and our talents to glorify our Creator. Nothing else. If we don't do that with our time and talents, we might experience elevation, we might experience paper chasing and all that, but we will not have fulfilled our God-given purpose in life.
Wow.
It's that simple. That's what finding your slingshot is all about, bro.
Right.
Everybody
Absolutely.
has a little bit of David in them.
Yeah.
The 3 steps to life is find your slingshot. You hear me?
Yeah.
A lot of us got more than one slingshot.
Yeah.
You got too many. You hear me? As far as gifts.
Yeah,
find your slingshot.
Yeah.
Use your slingshot for the purpose God designed it for.
Yeah.
And defeat your Goliaths.
Wow.
And this world got so many Goliaths in it
Yeah.
that we'll never be bored. We'll never not have anything to do.
Yeah.
And
we always gonna have something to shoot at.
Always gonna have something to shoot at, brother. And that right there, man, that just got me like, wait, life is that simple? So all the stuff Instagram's saying, all the stuff that everybody else is saying, that stuff just is misinformation, man. That's just trying to cloud my vision. Mission vision is about knowing, find your slingshot, use your slingshot, defeat your Goliaths. Bow.
There it is. And lastly, I got to ask you this because, I mean, like I said, I'm a fan. I commend all that you've done. You've built your own empire on your own. So many people look up to you, man. So many people are inspired by your voice, your freedom. What would be D1's 5 steps to success?
5 steps.
Yeah.
All right. 5 steps to success. First, love yourself. Love yourself, right? Secondly, understand that you were put here by God for God's glory, right? Number 3, get the bag. And when I say get the bag, BAG stands for building a generation. Yeah. So when I say get the bag, know that you were meant to pour into other people while you were down here. You're not just meant to secure the bag for yourself. You're meant to provide for yourself, but focus on the real BAG, which is building a generation, right? Number 4, I would say constantly repent and ask for forgiveness, because we are all sinners.
Right.
And when we get to the point to where we don't even feel bad for being sinners,
Right.
it's a dangerous place to be in.
Facts.
You hear me?
Yeah.
And number 5,
Finally.
yes,
Yeah.
when it comes to your circle, remember this analogy, Nick. The Jordan logo, right? Your circle should have 3 parts. One part of the Jordan logo, he's reaching up, right? We should have people that we aspire to be like. We got to have mentors, people we are looking up to, right?
Yeah.
The other hand in that Jordan logo, he's reaching down, he's reaching back. That's to have people that you are meant to inspire and pull up, right?
Yep.
And the main part of that Jordan logo, his head, is on a swivel. He's looking forward, right?
Yeah.
And when you think about who you were meant to work with in this world, you got to look around you and understand that these are the people you were meant to conspire with to change the world and make it a better place.
I love it.
So your circle should have 3 parts: the ones you aspire to be like, the ones you were meant to inspire, and the people that you are here to conspire with.
Wow, that's powerful. So 5 steps to success by D1. Love yourself. Understand that number 2, understand that you are brought here by God for his glory. 3, get the bag, build a generation. Number 4, repent and always ask for forgiveness. And number 5, aspire, inspire, and conspire.
That's it, brother.
Man, so many gems,
My G.
so much
My G.
wisdom. I mean, it's been an honor, man. We're going to have to do this again. You're going to have to come teach this class every semester.
Yo, I'm with it, brother, because, hey, we got to be in community with each other, man.
Yeah,
that's how we do this. Thank you, brother.
Conspiring together.
There you go. Even before I met this man, I felt like I could relate to this man because children of the light, you can recognize one another. You know what I mean? And so it makes it easy to root for one another. It makes it easy to pray for one another.
Yeah.
I've prayed for you before I even met you.
Oh, man, I appreciate that.
And that's big fact. You say you need it?
I definitely need it.
Me too, dog. So that's why we got to be able to be in community, man. So thank you for this. Yeah, this won't be the last time.
Nah, absolutely not. And if they don't know, go ahead and give it to them one more time. How they can find you, how they can get all things D1.
The new book. David found his slingshot from my website. Go grab that thing like thousands of other people have. DEE, the number 1 music.com. And I just dropped my 12th album of my career. You heard me?
Tell them.
It's called Loaded. Loaded stands for Life of a Disruptor, Evolving Daily. You heard me?
Get that.
Debuted at number 2 in the world behind Eminem. Stop playing with me.
There he is, doing it on his own. Inspiring, aspiring, and conspiring.
Let's go.
Candace class, y'all. We out.